Hi, good evening. It is October 20th, 2025. I'm Christy Boudreau, Chair of the Hatfield School Committee, and I would like to welcome the committee and administration and guests to this evening's meeting. As we call to order this evening, our first item up is for public comment. And as we have some folks with us remotely and some folks with us in person, and people have signed up to make public comment. Before we start that this evening, I just want to make sure that we reiterate some of the policy around public participation at school committee meetings, in particular because it's a little bit different than some other boards in town, and so we'll just be refreshed on it. Speakers are going to be called in order to present based on the order that they're listed, and I'm going to actually ask for those who are remote if they want to go first when we get to that, and then we'll get to the folks who are in person. We're asking anybody that wishes to speak that they identify themselves by name. We will give everyone 3 minutes. We can extend that if it feels like we need to, and I'm open to that because we are interested in hearing all voices. The topics of discussion are limited to those items on the school committee meeting agenda for the evening. Additionally, I just want to remind us all that improper conduct and remarks are not allowed. Defamatory or abusive remarks are always out of order. If the speaker engages in such, the chair may terminate the individual's privilege of addressing the group. All remarks will be addressed through the chair of the meeting. The chair will acknowledge public comments and receipt of value and relevant documents and may seek clarification on the testimony, but the committee members here will not respond or engage in a discussion or debate with anyone making public comment. Speakers may offer such objective criticism of school operations and programs that concern them, but in public session, the committee will not hear personal complaints about school personnel, nor against any member of the school community. Under most circumstances, administrative channels are the proper means for disposition of legitimate complaints involving staff members, and the chair will direct the speaker to route those complaints through proper administrative channels. So we welcome people's feedback and voices, but we do want to make sure that we adhere to the policy and that we're very consistent in doing that. So with that in mind, is there anyone with us remotely that would like to make a public comment tonight? Okay, seeing none, the first person with us is Ms. Hathaway. Would you like to make a public comment? Yeah, just get to.
I mean, not Brianna. I don't know why. Yeah. Sorry.
Looked a
go
little
ahead.
funny.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, and thank you for giving me this time to speak to you all this evening. My name is Amy Hathaway. I have children that have been in the Hatfield public school system since 2018. A disturbing incident occurred on October 9th that put my first grader in grave danger, and I'd like to speak to the failings of the principal that directly led my son to being allowed to leave school grounds with his father, a convicted felon that has multiple dealings with the school system in Hatfield, including 2 other parties requiring restraining orders. At approximately 11 a.m., DCF phoned the principal directly regarding concerns about my first grader going home with his father that day. Simultaneously, the child's therapist, who's been working with him for nearly 2 years and has an established rapport with him, also spoke directly to the principal with concerns about him going with his father that day from the school. The principal stated that she did receive these 2 important pieces of communication and that decided to call the non-emergency line for the Hatfield Police Department and then never followed up with this matter again. DCF called the school at approximately 1:15 to touch base with a school employee that said that his father had signed the child out of school at 1:09 and left with him. I received a phone call shortly thereafter from DCF that my son had been picked up by his father, an unlicensed driver, and left with him. While on the phone with DCF, the father violated the restraining order with my son present. I hung up the phone, called the Hatfield Police Department emergency line, and they said that they had just received a voicemail from Principal Petra from several hours prior and decided to go follow up. They put out a warrant for the father's arrest for violation of the restraining order at that time. After nearly 8 fretful hours, just moments before the Amber Alert went out, my son was found and returned home safely, but was completely terrified. Sorry. This egregious lack of oversight, poor judgment, and complete negligence for the safety of my child and for the entire school for that matter was directly at fault of the principal. She could have dialed 911 knowing the circumstances. She could have called DCF. She could have called the Hatfield Police Department back. She could have called myself, but she did nothing. She failed to do anything to follow up with this urgent communication regarding my son's safety. Had she followed through, this wouldn't have happened. Given the seriousness of this situation, I feel that the school committee and the superintendent, Dr. Driscoll, should strongly consider asking Principal Petra for resignation before another child is put in a heinous, inexcusable, and possibly life-threatening situation. Thank you.
So can I ask a couple follow-up questions just to clarify?
Sure.
You said that DCF called Principal Petra at 11 o'clock. Is there a record of that call? Do you have a record of that
Do I
call?
have that record?
Mhm.
I do not have it with me, but I can get it for you.
How did you learn that DCF called?
Because
at 11
DCF
o'clock?
called me as well.
And they told you they called Principal Petra?
Yes.
And you mentioned that there was a restraining order.
Yes.
Is that something that pertains to the student you're asking about?
It
Is
is.
that a restraining order specific to your first grader?
He is included on that restraining order, yes.
And is that restraining order, was it current on
Yes.
the date in question? I appreciate you coming and sharing and clarifying for us.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Mr. Zagratnik?
Good evening. Never actually sat and spoken to one of these mics before. I'm usually a stander, you know. This whole situation it's despicable. It's something that shouldn't have happened. And I don't think it's something that should be brushed off or taken lightly. I mean, Hatfield, for many, many years, has been known to have a rock-solid education system. People buy homes, people school of choice into this town for their education system. Now, me personally, I don't have any biological child in the school system, but I do have a niece. I do have, stepchildren. I do have everybody that I grew up with has kids in the system. And repetitively, I hear how disappointed people are in this system. And it's not the whole staff. It's leadership skills. We're lacking leadership skills. Not only are we lacking leadership skills, but safety. I mean, this is unbelievable. I mean, this is the kind of thing that if you see this situation anywhere in a newspaper, I mean, there's not one person, I hope, sitting behind that table that wouldn't go, oh my gosh, how could this have happened? What's going to be done about it? How do we prevent such a thing? How does somebody just nonchalantly just disregard this and not, you've got an issue at hand. You were notified by multiple people, the situation, and you just leave a message, more efforts put forth into calling Grubhub than there was to actually getting a resolution for this. At the very least, what you do is you say, nobody's going anywhere until we resolve this. You call the authorities, not on a non-emergency line. You call 911, call the state police barracks, you call somebody. There's no excuse for this. And I'm embarrassed for this community. And I'm embarrassed for this whole school system to let this just go. Has anything been done about it? Is there going to be something done about it? Or are we going to continue down this road? And God forbid, see something happen to someone else or the same person. And then how's everybody going to be left feeling about this? I mean, nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody wants to push it under the rug kind of thing. It's not excusable. In the real world, in any occupation, you're held accountable for stuff like this. There's such a thing as a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes, but this is beyond a mistake. This isn't just a small little oops, all right? It's negligence. There's no other word for it. And if anybody in this room doesn't take, number one, safety first, education second, seriously, you shouldn't be here. The other thing I wanted to say, I know it's difficult to schedule meetings. I have to schedule meetings myself. But why would you schedule a school committee meeting on the night of one of the last sporting events of the year? There's a lot of people that are upset they couldn't get here because they had a delay in the game, I understand too. So with that being said, there's a lot of upset parents. There's upset parents. There's upset parents for situations like this that have pulled their kids out of the system. They have pulled them and gone other places. That's not the message we want to send to our community. Not at all. We want people fighting to get into the door. And whatever's happening here is wrong, because you go to Smith Volk, they take 160 students a year, not 161, not 159, period. There's a list on them. People are waiting to get in there. They're excelling. They're building their sports programs. Their students are excelling. And meanwhile, it's kind of lost here, We had great coaches. We had Sherry Webb, hats off to her. You know what I mean? She promoted the field hockey teams through my generation were unbeatable. Banners to prove it. We got to get a grip on this. Get this together. This is falling apart. You can't turn a blind eye. You can't say, well, they're doing the best you can. No. We don't want to be second, third, fourth. We want to be the best. I think that's what we all want, don't we?
Everyone's not responding because it's our policy. We don't.
I understand.
So, okay.
But I want it to sink into everybody's head. You know what I mean? We all want the best. We all want the best for the community, the students, and to let something like this happen and nothing to be done about it, there is no excuse, and it's shameful. Shameful.
I appreciate you coming this evening. Sorry if it took away from your sporting event. We don't always check the sports calendar before we book our meetings or book in August. So thank you.
Maybe it'll help next time.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
We would love to be in the meeting, in that sports event too, instead of sitting here.
The second, Mr. Zagrodnik.
Greg Zagrodnik. I have a daughter in the elementary school, and the reason I'm here is I know what an unhinged person Mr. Watling is, and how he is very dangerous. He shouldn't be allowed anywhere near a school, as far as I'm concerned. And I think that the people in the school know this, and it is inexcusable that he was let in, and all this was just, it was, the choice was just to ignore it. Ignore the problem, let him go, and nothing will be, become of it. But I really think that, everyone needs to really look at the situation and how lucky everyone is. everyone in the building. You know, after there's, you know, yes, when you have serious school issues, like, you know, when you read about, school shootings and all this crazy stuff, and the question is always asked afterwards, you know, what could have been done to prevent this? We're lucky that that wasn't the situation, I feel, with this man, because he is, and, you know, what if, you know? I think that these matters really need to be taken more serious, and it's very disturbing to me. Very disturbing.
Thank you. Ms. Poole? You're not looking to make a public comment? Is there anyone else that's looking to make a public comment this evening? Okay. Thank you.
Did anyone else join that wanted to?
I will ask the question. Is there anyone else online? I actually have one letter to read additionally. Is there anyone else online that would like to make a public comment? Like everyone that was here earlier. So I did get one letter to be shared, to whom it may concern. And this I'll tell you in advance. This is from Officer Monica LaValle, the school resource officer. To whom it may concern, I have been the school resource officer for Hatfield Public Schools since 2018 and a parent to a current first grader within the district. I have worked through several administrative changes throughout both schools, building professional relationships along the way. I can confidently say that the school administration, specifically Superintendent Dr. Connor Driscoll, Principal Ms. Melissa Petra, and Dean of Students Jason Duncan, have strived to maintain a successful working relationship with myself and the Hatfield Police Department. Principal Petra never hesitates to notify me of any concerns brought to her attention. With my part-time role, this often means reaching me outside of school in real time to address concerns. I'm always happy to field thoughts and concerns from her and work to resolve the matter. Principal Petra is additionally open to suggestions that I bring to the school from advanced trainings and updates. It is clear that Principal Petra puts the safety of her students and staff at forefront of her goals. I have experienced Principal Petra go above and beyond, sometimes even overthinking a situation to ensure that all parties involved are taken into consideration. We are fortunate at Hatfield Public Schools to coexist in a safe and approachable environment where the people are known on a first-name basis. Family dynamics can be difficult at times, requiring open communication between numerous entities, occasionally at times leaving room for error. No entity gets it right 100% of the time, but all we can hope is that we all show up and do what's within our purview with the information that we have at the given time. Principal Petra is someone who shows up for her school. I hope in times of turmoil that we can remember the community we are a part of and rise together to continue a positive working relationship. I will conclude that anyone at any time is always able to contact myself at the Hatfield Police Department to discuss any matter. The sooner we know, the sooner we can assist. Let's keep our schools and communities something to be proud of. Respectfully, Officer Monica LaValle, School Resource Officer. And with that, we will close public comment and move on to mission moments. And I will note to folks who have come to visit this evening that we are going to have a conversation about student safety. It's one of the first things up on our docket. So, but before we get to that, as we do every month, we stop and take a moment to celebrate the things that are going well. And we do those with mission moments. And I'm imagining with homecoming and everything else, we have lots to share. So, Principal Petra.
I've been doing mini assemblies with each of the different floors. And this past week, I had done one with grades 3, 4, and 5, where I presented to them our student council and all the information around student council. And you could have heard a pin drop. They were 100% quiet and attentive. And then one of the teachers later on at lunch had asked how many students were interested in running for student council. And she said more than half of the students raised their hand. So I'm extremely excited at the prospect of our elections that will be happening on November 5th for student council representatives for grades 3 through 5.
Awesome. I think we need to mute your speaker. Okay. Other mission moments for tonight?
I have a quick one,
Oh.
which is unusual.
Shocked.
I know, right? My kids both attend aftercare on Wednesdays, so a special shout out to Jackson Williams for
Yes.
bringing the hayride to aftercare. Both my kids had a blast on the hayride, and it sounds like all the other kids at aftercare that day did as well. So thank you to your brother Jackson. Appreciate it.
You stole mine, but I was going to have to go based on photos. That was awesome.
I'll speak for the Williamses who also enjoyed it. I also have one
Yeah.
today when I don't usually speak up about this, but regarding Smith Academy, I attended the Smith Academy open house earlier in October. I have attended it before. My parents have attended it before. Their parents have attended it before. And it's never been well attended, ever, like in the living memory that any of us could think of. And when I went to Smith Academy open house earlier this month, there we go. Anyway, I was amazed. It was packed. Like the house was totally full. I went home. I asked all my relatives, have you ever seen Smith Academy open house so full? No one had. The vibes were very, very good. Families super engaged, staff super engaged. I think we ran out of cookies. It was great. It was like it was just like a really good feeling because even in recent years, I have been to Smith Academy open house and it's never been met with so much enthusiasm. So it was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We had
Before
homecoming this
before
weekend.
we give yours
Yeah,
away.
we had homecoming this weekend. It was wonderful. We had hundreds of people there. There was a ton of people. Great sporting games, perfect weather. The floats were movie themed, so each class chose a movie. The Titanic won it, and the kids were all
Freshmen,
the kids all had their own like they were the exhaust
smokestacks.
smokestacks. Thank you.
Yes, they had hats
Some
on.
of them also had life jackets.
They did.
It
yeah.
was great.
In fact, we had a life jacket that was still there this morning. But it was just a wonderful community event. It was just really nice to see everyone who came out, students from that had graduated, alum who came back. Yeah, and to celebrate Bill Englehart for winning the homecoming award.
Which
Yay.
is my mission moment. I'm
Awesome.
thanking everybody on behalf of Bill that he got the homecoming award. He is thoroughly and completely embarrassed by it. So mission accomplished. And getting past the embarrassment, he's decided to roll with it. I was saying it before the meeting started that he's going to take his plaque and attach it to a chain and wear it around his neck like Flava Flav wears the clocks.
I'd like a picture of that, please.
And parade around Hollyshed doing that. But he was very humbled by it all. And one of his sisters is here from Texas. She was in town also for celebrating her class's 50th anniversary from Smith Academy. So that was a nice little tie-in to homecoming.
That's awesome. Well, it's recognition much deserved for decades of work with Boy Scouts. That's really sweet. Any other mission moments? Okay. We have on the consent agenda tonight one item, minutes from our last meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? Mr. Sullivan, all in favor? I hear 5 voices. You have an opportunity to read the student representative report. Ms. Guyman regrets that she could not be with us tonight, but I do think she's going to be making reports and joining us going forward on many occasions.
Very much
So-
appreciate having her report, and it's nice having a student representative again.
Want to
It
hear
very much is.
Very much.
But I would like to move swiftly on to a conversation about student safety, something that we take very seriously in the district. And so I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Driscoll, and the committee will be able to ask questions after he makes his statement.
So I just wanted to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about what we do in our schools to ensure that we are, maintaining a margin of safety for all of our students at the elementary school and at the high school, middle high school. Now, when we talk, we won't be talking about specifics in terms of incidents, but kind of generally how we structure things to maintain that safety. So we train throughout the year. Our staff, we train for lockdown drills, for shelter in place drills. We train for health emergencies. At the beginning of every year, we have a meeting that includes the fire department, the police department, school health officials, and school administrators to talk through what the emergency response teams are, who's on those, and what their roles are. We train staff for the pieces that I just mentioned, as well as reunifications in case there was an event that we needed to evacuate the school. We train staff and students truly, but staff to not let people into the building. The only people letting folks into the building should be front office staff. So they should be buzzing people in throughout. The way that typically works, we generally are in a place that we're fortunate to know most of the parents of students who come into our school. So usually we recognize parents and we're able to welcome them in. Sometimes they will have called ahead and said, I'm picking my child up, sometimes not. Sometimes we'll call them to say, hey, Connor's sick, you need to come get him. So typically we're expecting them to come in and do that. In the event that we don't know someone who comes to the door, that's when we stop and the front office staff ask screening questions. How can I help you? Do you have an appointment? If we typically, the folks who come in that we might not recognize, typically they are contractors and they're there to do work. And they will call usually ahead of time and say, hey, we're coming between, just like at your house, we're coming between 10 and 2 to work on the boiler, to work on the roof. And so we'll recognize them. Then we bring them in, they sign in, get visitors passes, so that they're known in the school. Yeah, and in the event that we are aware of something, so if we get a call from the police or we get a call, from someone that says, "Hey, this is going on. You need to be aware of it," we would work with local law enforcement to kind of determine what the right play is. If someone were to come to the school and we were concerned, if they they were presenting as inebriated or unstable or otherwise not in a kind of expected way, then we would have them wait outside, and we would probably contact law enforcement and say, hey, this is what we have going on, and have them come down. Are there specific questions that the committee has that we can
I have a
Okay.
few, but I don't
Sure.
need to go first. Anybody want to jump first?
You do yours, maybe yours or
I
mine.
was going to say, I also have some, but don't need to go first.
Can you talk through specifically how do we train staff that buzz the door open? I know that's only office staff. I have actually experienced that it's only office staff because I have had a teacher who knows me be like, yeah, sorry, I can't open the door for you, which I applaud. But can you talk about how we train office staff for that?
Yeah, and that's something that we've been discussing, that the state police have volunteered to come in and do some training, and I think we'll be doing that with them. But typically we have them ask certain specific questions, and it's not a big formal training, but it's how can I help you? Establishing that person who's coming to the school has a purpose to be there, has a child in the school, or has an appointment that is coming up in the school. But that is an area that we've talked about that we could expand on the training.
Is it the practice that if they know the person and know the person is a guardian, that they buzz them in?
It has been, yes. Yep. Yeah, so if we know that a parent has a student at the school, we'll typically invite them unless we have reason not to, we would invite them into the school and to, sign their child in or to talk to us. Sometimes they just want to come in because they have a, question that they need an answer to. Connor forgot his lunch, that kind of thing. Um,
Is the office staff apprised when there are changes in who is able to take a student out of school?
yes, they are. So that would the folks that can make those changes are the legal guardians of a student. So if I'll use my own daughter as an example. So my wife and I, if either of us were to call the school, saying that they went to our school, if we were to call the school and say, hey, listen, um, you know, grandpa's on the emergency contact list or on the pickup list, they can, they've been able to pick up, we'd like to take him off. A legal guardian can make that call. And then at that point, the front office staff would be made aware, okay, grandpa's no longer allowed to pick Connor up from school. Or if it was a family friend, that family friend is no longer. Likewise, they can also put people onto that list too. The legal guardian could call the school and say, hey, Connor's getting picked up, but this person is picking that up. A guardian can make that call.
What are the circumstances that the school makes a choice to change a legal guardian's standing to pick up their student?
A school cannot make that call. A legal guardian, unless there is unless there is something from the court saying that this a legal guardian no longer has custody or guardianship or educational rights, they wouldn't be able to do that. The only thing we could do in the event that a legal guardian came would be to call the police if we had concerns about someone's state of mind at that point.
I have one last one, and then I'll turn it over. I know we read Officer LaValle's comments, but I just wanted to ask really specifically, have we had any concerns from the police about our procedures in the district or issues raised about the behavior of our staff as it relates to student safety?
No, quite the opposite.
Have we run through all of our practices and procedures with them?
We that's part of what we do at the beginning of the year. That's that emergency planning meeting that takes place. There's always things we could do better, and we can work with them to bring that training in. But they have, the feedback we have gotten from them about kind of the formal training that we do, those lockdown drills, shelter in place drills, have been, pretty good. And then, the informal stuff that Officer LaValle talked to in her letter, just reaching out. I know we have a good working relationship with the police department.
And I guess I did have one last quick one, sorry. When there is an event that calls into question, what is your practice as superintendent to follow up?
What do you mean?
So
What
if
calls
there
into
if there
question?
were an incident where safety was raised as a concern,
Mhm.
what would your standard practice be as superintendent? Do you follow
At-
that up
After the fact,
after the fact?
yeah. So after the fact, I would do if there were concerns about student safety or an incident that occurred, I would do an investigation into the matter. Talk to folks that were part of it. Look at any documents that would have gone into decision making, that kind of thing.
Okay. Other questions?
I just had a follow-up question about guardians being able to pick up their children.
Mhm.
Would a guardian be able to call about their guardian and take them off, like legal guardian?
No, that would have to come through the courts.
Okay.
Yeah, we would have
So
to.
you usually ask the parents for the latest legal
Yeah,
agreements in case
and
of divorce?
we would need to get that from the parents or guardians, the most up to date information.
Okay. And the doors are like the doors as of now are always locked. Like there's
Mhm.
no issues in the last, I would say, few months. doors are good? Like they're not unlocked during school?
No, they're not.
With the actual door mechanisms, you
Yes,
mean, like
the
they're
mechanism, yeah.
locking? and
Yeah.
The
working?
mechanism where
Got it.
you do have to be buzzed in
Yep.
to come in.
Well, we had changed some things in the
Yeah.
beginning when the custodian would first come into the building. He would open up both doors, the inner and outer door, because so many staff would be coming in. But staff were saying that there were some times when people would be in the building that the parents, for example, particularly even with the box morning program.
Yeah.
So we decided in order to ensure safety, we would lock that front door and we would be locking the box door that we have somebody standing at that entryway. So.
Okay, thank you.
How are the gym doors at the elementary school?
The gym doors at the elementary school are not new, but they do lock. They can be secured. And we just heard this week from our contractor that we're looking at the Thanksgiving recess for the install to be done. So while students aren't in the building, so if there's any reason for that it wouldn't be secured, there wouldn't be students in the building.
So they're finicky, but they work,
Yep.
and we make strides to make sure they catch when they close.
Yes.
Yeah, the gym door wasn't so much the issue as it was the community door. That one was the one that was tended to be, you really had to push it hard in order for it to latch, to catch. But that has been working fine so far.
May I ask, so the front staff are the only people who are allowed to let folks into the building. They get buzzed in, and if they don't, and they ask screening questions. Is there like a list of questions that they have? Is it like formalized in any way, or is it just?
Right now, it hasn't been
Okay.
really formalized, but that's part of the training that the state police have offered.
That was the
is
next
kind of
question I
like a-
had,
a
was
s-
like, is
a
that the kind of
script.
thing? Like,
Yep.
what exactly are the state police volunteering to help train? It's specifically in like entry procedures?
Yeah, it's entry procedures. It's a kind of a script to do that. It's sort of what to look for
Okay.
if, in the event that someone is presenting as not quite themselves, I guess, and visual screening for weapons as well.
Okay. Is that scheduled?
It hasn't been scheduled yet, no, but
Okay.
it will be.
Are the videos now, I know we've replaced the video equipment so that we
Mhm.
had better visualization. Is that equipment such that we can see everything we need to see?
Yeah, at the high school it is.
Yeah,
at
the elementary as
school
well. Yep.
Sorry, that was just a timely one.
Yep, and now I almost lost it. Hang on, it's back. I can recall some occasions where the two office staff, one might be out, absent, the other one may be doing work in another part of the office, going down the hall, having lunch, whatever, and somebody else is covering the office. So when somebody is covering the office, are they also trained, or are they just sitting at the desk and buzzing people in?
So the folks that we have, typically it would be the same people that would be covering, and they would have the same kind of training. And again, right now that training hasn't really been formalized or official, but they would still have the same process of, how can I help you? Oh, I recognize you. You're Connor's dad. Come on in, or in the event of a contractor, they may not know, so they would talk to the administration at that point and say, these guys from Greenwood Roofing are here. Do they have an appointment? I say, yep, supposed to fix the leak.
I do want to add that I'm in there a lot, and as I walk up, Michelle can look out her window. I hold up a container of
Mhm.
the medication that I'm dropping off, and she usually buzzes me right in because she sees me through the window. But there are other times that there are staff in the lobby area that see me coming and open the door for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they know me,
You're
but
getting better treatment than I do then. I'm just going to say.
I'm sorry, Ben, I've been around longer.
I guess so.
And we'll refresh that training, but they should not be doing that.
I don't mind pressing the buzzer and waiting and saying, hey, it's Kathy, I'm bringing meds to the nurse.
It is kind of nice to be in a community that knows you and knows your children, that you can just come in and they have the information. This is one, I think, for me at least, it's one of the positives about living in Hatfield and being here, like my kid can just ride his bike to school, and if he gets hurt, uh, you bandage him up.
Sometimes.
And then when I come to school, they know me as his parent. Obviously, when there are times like he forgot his backpack the other day when he rode his bike, and my mom is here, so she rode her bike and she took his backpack. So she had to go through the process. She's like, yeah, they asked me who I was, and they let me in, and I gave the backpack to somebody that got it to him. So as far as that, I'm glad you're training, but hopefully we won't lose the community feel, which I appreciate at least.
What about when multiple people show up at the door simultaneously? So I show up, Dr. Driscoll shows up, I'm first. Michelle buzzes me in, and like he could come in with me without declaring that he's there to meet with Ms. Petra. Is there a policy on that? Like, is Michelle or Jackie supposed to say like, hey, can you step back until we clear you as well?
Yes-ish. I think that is the policy. Whether or not that's the practice, I don't think that happens every time, and I don't know that is, at that point you're also asking parents who are coming in, who probably know the person coming in right after them, not to hold the door for them, and not and
It's not an awkward social
it,
moment.
it is. It creates an awkward social moment. But yes, technically they should be buzzing them in one at a time.
I have been in that situation actually where I came in, buzzed, waited while another person came in, signed in, and like I think the person talked to both of us before they buzzed us both in.
Okay.
So if that makes like a real life example.
Yeah, if you can see that there's two people in the
Yeah,
vestibule.
it was both of us. Like I just walked in and buzzed. The person walked in after us, and we were both talked to and told to come in at the same time, so as not to make it awkward. I don't know if that happens every time, but it did happen the one time.
Is it worth sending communication out to families to say, like, hey, granted, like, we're all taught to like hold the door for the person behind us, but in this scenario, school safety is paramount.
Yep.
Please let the door close behind you and let procedures follow.
I'm even thinking we could put like a poster or some kind of signage in
Yeah.
the vestibule too for that.
It's not a bad idea.
And the same, for students as well,
Yeah.
they get buzzed in and they hold the door for someone.
Correct.
Now that we have cameras working, good cameras in both buildings, is it less of an issue that people come in and don't report to the office? Because I know that can sometimes happen, that somebody gets buzzed in, especially on days where in the elementary school where we have something going on in the cafeteria, and the people coming in know that, and they don't always go in to sign in.
We've been trying to get creative with that by actually placing a table and or a desk out in that entry area and assigning either Kit or Michelle to stand there with the visitor sign in. So they're both right there, or one of them is right there to actually do just that.
So that's when you have an event, but are
Yes.
there other times that somebody will get buzzed in and the office, they skipped going into the office to sign in, and the staff is like, where'd they go? Where'd they go? Does that happen
Generally not
anymore?
No.
They're
it doesn't.
watching the
Yeah,
cameras
they
and,
are.
okay.
I would think that would be more challenging at Smith Academy because the office is a little
Right.
further away.
Yeah.
So typically we'll know someone's coming in. If they don't come to the office and we don't see them coming down the hall, we'll walk out to greet them. Say, hey, we're offices down here.
Does that happen frequently?
It happens occasionally, yeah. Yep.
How's security at box and aftercare?
As far as
Your evaluation, like, do you feel it's sufficient? I don't know. Like, I don't use box anymore, and so I don't remember. I don't know what the check-in process is like. And you said it had changed as far as like there's somebody kind of guarding the door.
and then the door is locked by 7:30,
Okay.
where previously it was left open.
So as far as who can sign out their kids, when I go to pick up my kids at aftercare, the side door's open
Yep.
next to the gym. So I go in, I go to the gym, I sign it out, I go and grab my kids on the playground. But it doesn't seem difficult for a kid to Like, it's possible that my kid, like the kid could be like in using the bathroom and I never see Ms. Landeville or any of the other supervisors. So I could just grab Owen from there and leave. So if I'm a parent or a guardian who no longer has custodial rights, I could just, abscond with the child. I'm just wondering if there's any holes in the process at aftercare that should be evaluated.
We could look at, I mean, at this point, there haven't been any kind of issues with the aftercare pickup, but we can definitely look into that too.
I would say the only thing I have to say about checking in, if you have somebody at a table, when there's an event, it gets really backed up. So maybe having multiple signing sheets, just so people don't have to wait long to get in, especially when it's that busy and there's a lot of people coming through. So people actually don't circumvent the signing in thing, because that could happen when there's so many people coming in at once.
That would create another confusion if they have to sign out, though. Like if they're coming in at 9:30 for an all-school meeting and then leaving, and they have to sign out.
There's not that many parents at an
know.
all-school meeting to make
No,
that
that's true, but I'm,
too big of
No,
an
I
issue.
think it's just like
Mm.
for parent-teacher conferences maybe, or the open
Mm.
houses. Those are the ones that get pretty
the concerts.
busy, and
Concerts.
concerts.
I don't remember signing in at concerts. We signed in at concerts.
You're supposed
I-
to.
Signing your child out at the
Out
end.
at the end.
Yes.
But you don't sign in.
You don't
to go to
sign
a
in for the
concert, 'cause
concert.
it's like an open community event.
So, anything else we want to talk about on safety? Anything else administration would like to talk about on safety? And I will remind the committee that we have an executive session this evening that we will come back after. Related. Okay. With that, going to administrative reports, and my apology to Nurse Jean if we lost her in this conversation. I'd like to actually move her report up to the front of this. Thank you all for coming this
Still
evening.
here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is she still with us?
She is still with us. Jean, if you can hear us. Nurse Jean, are you with us?
I see her.
I am not muted. She is muted.
There she is.
Oh,
Maybe not.
And the screen is available to all who's watching along.
yeah, I don't know what, sometimes this is what should be up. Jean, are you with us?
Do we have the ability to text Nurse Jean?
I forgot my phone.
There, it looks like there's something in the chat. Maybe just check if she had put something there. Yeah, I can barely hear her. Oh, it's fine.
Yes.
Is our sound not that good today? Nobody can hear us.
Oh, you know what? My volume has been off. That's why we haven't been able to hear.
Okay.
Okay,
There we go.
Connor, thank you for the chat message. I'm sorry to keep everybody on delay.
Not at all.
No, no, no.
Thank you for
Can you all
hanging
hear
with
me?
us. We
Yes.
can, and we can see your presentation.
Hello?
Hello?
Good, thank you. I'm gonna shrink my screen a little bit. I have a dog and pony show to share with all of you, so bear with me. Let's see if we can get this to work.
Jean, Dr. Driscoll's able to share your presentation.
Oh, he is.
He is, and
Excellent.
it's
Even
on,
better.
and it's viewable to those who will
Oh, it's
chime
beautiful.
in later.
Thank you. Let me get you guys back on. All right. Well, first of all, thank you everyone for giving me this opportunity to talk about health and safety services and give you a brief report about last school year. And if you can move on, Connor, to the second screen. I can't see what you're doing, but I can see what I'm doing. This is what we aspire to, which is from NASN, which is the National Association of School Nurses. You may be interested to know that school nurses in Massachusetts are the largest public health workforce in Massachusetts. So we're pretty proud of that. And this framework talks a little bit about what we aspire to do. Care coordination, especially in the last 10, 15 years, has involved much more collaboration with other school staff, administrators, counselors, certainly with families. We could not do what we do without the support of the families. We are constantly looking to learn and improve. So it's appropriate that we're in a school setting where all of you try to inspire students to learn and grow and develop. Next slide, please. I'm hoping that you see school year 2025, the numbers.
Yes.
Yes.
We are asked every year to report Department of Public Health the number of encounters. Now, this may include things like Band-Aids and boo-boos, but mostly it includes some other key areas that you hopefully see on your screen. I'd like to point out that some of the information for the purpose of student privacy, I consolidated. If you look at endocrine, GI, and genitourinary, those aren't usually lumped together, but it's a handful of students who we worked with last year who required frequent, usually brief nursing care, often more than twice a day. And again, just to protect their privacy, we kind of link them all together. Sometimes the work we do is simple, sometimes it's complex. It may be as simple, for example, as students who come in and say they're hungry and they forgot their snack. So we have spare snacks in the health office versus the student who comes in who has persistent abdominal issues. So we work very closely with families, with the primary healthcare providers to coordinate care and to manage their cases. And one case in particular I can think about a few years ago, a student was having some issues and wasn't gaining weight. And after a few weeks of back and forth phone calls and working with the provider, this particular student was referred to a specialist and they found out this student was living with celiac disease, which explained a lot about how much they had been suffering. So we were grateful to be a part of that. We were especially grateful to the family for all that they did to follow through with the professionals. Next slide, please.
I'm being told that it's not showing on Zoom for people at home.
It's on YouTube. You don't have
It's not going to be on Zoom.
gonna
It
be-
will
Okay.
be on the
The
local
YouTube.
channel.
feed right now.
Okay.
So just to reiterate,
The
for
next
those who,
slide should say special health care needs and diagnoses. Yes?
Unless she said.
Thumbs up
shares
on that if you
right?
see it.
Yeah, but we
Yeah.
don't.
Good, thank you. So over half the school population has some type of medical diagnosis. Many of these are students who often have multiple diagnoses, but 44 of those students qualified as having special health care needs. And you'll see the definitions there. These are students who are learning to live with chronic healthcare needs and yet have success in school. And that's what we're all about, is helping them to have success in school as part of the team. Next slide, please. Something we do on a routine basis each school year is the health screenings. And you'll see last year the numbers. Parents are given the option of opting out of some of these. A biggie for us, of course, especially in the younger grades, is vision. And of these, some of those vision screenings actually turned into referrals for new eyeglasses for students. So we're grateful again for the families who allow the students to participate and to help the students, be able to see and have success in school. Next slide, please. We've done some special activities, and in the previous slide, you saw the dental hygienist visits. They came twice. That's thanks to support from the State Department of Public Health. But in addition to that, last year we had the flu and COVID vaccine clinic open to staff and students, our annual puberty lessons, which are coming up soon, as well as something special for us. We invited Officer LaValle to come in and present special training on urgent situation response, especially related to emergent care, medical care. And she did a fabulous job of packing a lot of important information into a brief training for key staff. Next slide, please. In addition to that, we do annual staff training, and we're grateful to the administrative team for allowing us every year to provide an overview for recognizing and responding to urgent first aid situations. And these are the numbers of staff who've completed different trainings each year. Note that over 20 staff people volunteer to complete the CPR AED training each year. Especially noteworthy last year, two things at the bottom of the list. The medication administration for unlicensed staff. We were able to quickly identify and train key staff people at Smith Academy who could then provide medication administration support during out-of-state field trips, especially to New York State, where yours truly was able to get her own nursing license transferred so that those field trips could still happen. And thanks to their support, we were able to make that happen in a timely fashion, and families could enjoy having their students participate. Something new for us last year, something that we've dreamed about doing for a long time, is having first aid teams in each school. And 3 staff people, in addition to your school principals, volunteered to serve on those first aid teams. And they've really taken on a role in helping us when the school nurses are tied up with an urgent situation. Next slide, please. The grants. We were very fortunate to have 3 grants last year awarded to us, two through the Department of Public Health and 1 through Mass DESE. The FRESH program is Farming Reinforces Education for School Health. CSHS is Comprehensive School Health Services, and SBHE is School Behavioral Health Expansion Grants. These funds, and you'll see where we primarily use the funding, really enabled us to step up social and emotional learning, to step up first aid team development and training, not only for staff, but last year, thanks to Christelle Boyle, who teaches health education at Smith Academy, she completed the American Heart Association instructor course and is now including Heart Association training for Smith Academy students, which is pretty exciting. And on the Mass DESE Fresh Grant, unfortunately, we just found out that we were not funded for this year, and this is mostly because the state had to greatly reduce the amount of funds that were available to schools. It was very competitive to begin with, but this grant last year allowed us to offer weekly tastings. We partnered with Prospect Meadow Farm. They were great. They even did a farm tour for older students last year. And the grant allowed us to buy some badly needed kitchen tools to help our food service director, John Halpin, assure that food was prepared in a timely fashion. I'd like to add that John Halpin and I would like to thank not only Prospect Meadow for their ongoing support, But some other local farms have been helpful to us over the years where we've applied for other grants that unfortunately were not successful, but they've always been willing to step in and help us with our grant proposals. In particular, I'd like to thank Belden Farm and Jillian Miner for her ongoing support. She found a grant for us on her own a few years ago at the elementary school, where she bought grow bags and seeds and introduced kids to seeing how plants grow and where they grow. So special thanks to her. And more recently, the local CISA group has been willing to partner with us in helping us to develop proposals. So we're hoping that we can continue to seek out and find proposals to help promote health and wellness in the school, especially in partnering with our local farms. Next slide, please. Hopefully your slide says looking ahead.
Yep.
And this year, we've recently received notice that our school behavioral health expansion grant will be funded. So we have purchased a program called DESA, which we started through a prior grant. DESA stands for the Devereaux Student Strengths Assessment Survey. This is an evidence-based tool used all over the country to help identify and support the social emotional needs of K through 12 students. So its goals are to help students develop self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, and decision-making. That's a mouthful. And it really helps the staff, especially the counseling and administrative staff, to identify students who may need some extra supports in critical areas to help them ultimately have improved student engagement and have success in school. So we're excited about that opportunity, and we're also excited to have the funding to continue supporting a part-time social emotional learning staff person at the elementary school. We are still waiting to hear from the CSHS end of the funding, but I know that's in process at the state level with Department of Public Health. This year, our goal is to really zero in on screenings and trainings. And then finally, just something that all of you may want to be aware of. In August, the Department of Public Health updated the 105 CMR, which is kind of the place that rules what school nurses may and may not do in terms of medication. There is so much coming down the pike, so much out now for nasal rescue medications. For example, you've probably seen the commercials for Neffy. We don't have it in schools yet, but we know it's coming. So we are preparing, hopefully with the state, to train staff on using upcoming rescue meds that are delivered either nasally or through other means to help keep our students safe. And then finally, we're looking forward to working with, again, with John Halpin, who met with both building principals and me last spring to do a review and an audit. And we're looking forward to working with you to look for additional funding for health and wellness and the policy reviews. Next slide, please. So again, I'd like to thank all of you for inviting me to speak. I'd especially like to thank Connor, Melissa, and John, who have been very supportive of me and of nursing in general. We nurses know that we can rely on the administrators for help and guidance, for help when we are busy and overwhelmed with more than one visitor, and sometimes that happens, or with an urgent situation that requires extra help. I know I can rely on any one of them to step in and help us, help all students be healthy and safe and ready to learn. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Jean.
Jean. So, great. Anybody have any questions? I think that was pretty thorough. So
It was very thorough.
greatly appreciated. So we're going to move on. and sort of back up a little bit. And at this point, anyone who's still with us via Zoom, I would encourage you to actually tune into the Hatfield YouTube. You can find that at the top of our meeting agenda, and you would be able to watch the rest of this meeting. But we're going to take the Zoom down.
Great.
Thank you, guys. Okay, with that, we're going to move on to administration's report, starting with our district report.
All right. So district report, we just heard
Hit the highlight.
all right, I'll hit the highlights. So if we skip down a little bit, we can go to safety. We'll start with safety and building report. So roofers and boilers, the roofer and boiler installers, or the group doing it, planning it, was at Hatfield Elementary last week, the week before. They went up in the lift. They were looking at stuff up there. So they are confident that they'll be able to do the boiler project mid-year, so that they can run the system off one boiler while they put one new one in and then switch over and do it that way. So that way they were a little concerned about if one of them were to go down getting parts because they're so old. So they're looking to do that.
Did you say mid-year?
Right, like yeah,
now.
like
Okay.
Now.
like,
Which
like as
is-
soon as they can.
Which I got to tell you is a huge step forward in the last month, because
Yes.
the last conversation I sat in on a meeting where they were selecting vendors, and it was like, oh, we'll do it in the spring. And I
Yeah.
kind of had a panic
I
attack in
was
the middle of the
ready
meeting.
to ask about this topic
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
And so
I
when you
was
said
primed.
mid-year, I wasn't sure
Right, like
where that fell.
2026?
Yeah.
Like,
So they're going to
July.
do it as soon as they can.
Okay.
But yeah, they'll do it for the winter.
So we have a contractor. We picked the person or the company that's doing it, and
The mechanical engineering firm that's
Yes.
speccing it out,
Yeah.
maybe not the person who's selling.
Yeah,
boiler.
because of the scope of the project, we had to go. And this is
did like
this
the
is new to me.
project manager.
We had to get a project owner's manager,
Yeah.
and then a design firm, and then the design firm, after it's designed, will choose the vendor to do the install.
so right now we're in the design firm phase or the vendor phase.
Yeah,
Vendor phase.
Yep.
And all of those had to be put out to bid. Like,
you have to go through the
see,
bidding
like,
process for
the-
each.
No, this is
stage.
a big improvement over the September update, though.
yes, it
Yes,
is.
I'm.
Yep, and likewise the
I
roof.
was ready.
My panic face.
The roof, I think, depending on what the roof designer says, they may be able to do part of the flat roof over the winter too. The worst parts, it's not like one giant roof. It's several different sections, so they may be able to do some of those sections mid-year too. The ones that would, they're not going to be pounding nails on top of classrooms because that's disruptive. But if there's stuff that they can do on the flat portion with the membrane, they would do that.
Is there any concern when the boilers are being done for just disruptions to the kids' school day?
Not that I don't think so. Most of the time, that whole section is over by the art and the music room, so that would just be limited to that section. But they haven't said that there would be.
Okay.
Yeah, no, they haven't.
Feels more disruptive to not have heat.
For sure.
So,
Um,
but hopefully.
And I think everyone had a lot of experience, like just looking through the process and who they were reviewing. Everybody had a lot of school building experience
Yeah,
that they
okay,
talked to.
yeah.
So we won't be their first rodeo.
Good. And an update to the safety and building report in the last point. We heard back from the contractor that it is looking like that Thanksgiving holiday when they'll be doing the door install at the elementary school, which is wonderful.
Put out
Homecoming was great this past weekend. Like I said, we had a combined dance, and it was wonderful. We had a space for middle school students that they could hang if they wanted, and then we had the dance for everyone who wanted to be part of that. It was very well attended. It was really nice. It was a whole community weekend. And school kind of enrollment update. Right now, we are 300. We are full enrollment. Right now is 305, which is we're two students off last year, district-wide. So, and we already know of one student who's going to be starting in 6th grade on January 1st. We had got an application, school choice application for that, and that parent is very excited, which will make us 1 off from being flat and 2 off from slight increase of 1 student. So hopefully we'll get there for the winter. That's what I have from the district level.
Any other potentials that would be joining in January at either school?
Right now, it's just the one that we know of, but there could be more potentials.
Did we have a conversation last month about potentially more than one student who was going to join in January?
Into the 8th grade?
It was,
We did hear something about that.
and one was coming and they were going to bring some friends with them.
No, they started.
Oh, they already started.
They got in
they
before
made
the
the
October
October date.
October deadline.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking they
Yeah.
were starting in
Yeah,
January.
no,
So
we had those 2 new students begin at Smith Academy
Okay.
already. They're rocking and rolling.
good. I knew I remembered something.
Yeah,
but I-
no, you're correct. And then can I go to the Smith Academy report? From the Smith Academy report, the one piece I wanted to highlight, I think I've highlighted it already, but I'm going to keep pounding it because I think it's wonderful. The concurrent enrollment program that we started this year at Smith Academy for students to take college level courses through VSU, but taught by Smith Academy staff. We currently have 77% of our juniors and seniors enrolled in a college level course, which is huge. I can't think of another school that can boast that level of college participation. So that's pretty wonderful and quite a feather in our caps, I think.
And that does or does not include AP classes?
That does not. That is strictly the concurrent enrollment classes through VSU.
Can I just add that this statistic and this information was presented at the Smith Academy open house, and this slide elicited cheers from the audience. It was great.
Well, that's great too.
Yeah, I think families are very happy with this.
Yeah, and I started the conversation with MCLA too. So they're not quite as far along as VSU in terms of doing this and getting it accredited and everything, but they're very interested in doing it. And if that were the case, those credits would certainly transfer to any state school in Massachusetts if we could get it accredited through MCLA.
Mass College of Liberal Arts,
Yeah, formerly North Adams State.
just in case anybody
Yeah.
at home that's following,
Right along.
not
Yes.
getting the acronym.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Any questions before we move on?
Keep highlighting that.
I
Just
plan
keep
I plan
Pounding
to.
that out there.
Every meeting.
Yeah.
That is such a
We want a
good thing to be
boiler
proud
update
of.
and the concurrent
Enrollment.
enrollment. Perfect.
Okay, Principal Petra, do you want to make any highlights?
Sure. All of our teachers at this point in grades K to 5 have participated in their first of 2 of the SRSD writing trainings. This coming week actually is starting round 2 for our upper grades. October 1st, we actually did back-to-back drills. We had bus evacuation drill for all students, even regardless of whether or not they take buses, just to ensure in the event that they're ever taking a field trip and are riding a bus, even though they might not be a typical bus rider, the safety features of the bus and how to get off the back of the bus and the other windows and the roof one, though the students clearly didn't get out of those areas, but at least they were explained to them while they were on the bus. And then right after that, with local and state police, we also conducted one of our first of 3 announced lockdown drills this school year that went off without a hitch. And the mini assemblies are actually doing really, really well. We've done our kids to the point now where they actually are asking, when is it time to do the mindful lunch? Both grades or both lunches have gotten used to the notion of having it nice and quiet. Kids actually, for the most part, are actually looking forward to actually having it quiet and being able to actually eat their lunch. So
Are you still doing lunch with Ms. Petra at Fishtails? It's okay if you're not.
No, I'm not this year, but it's interesting that that is one of the things I was really wanting to talk with student council about, as far as like different ways that we should be showcasing. I know I did that with the iReady minutes, and that definitely was a big hit back in the day, but I wasn't sure if there was anything else that student council thought was another way that we could highlight or showcase. I think it was exciting for kids if they won, but then we started to notice that there was a dip in the number of students that were actually getting their minutes, because I felt like, well, if I'm not going to go, then why am I going to bother? So I need some other ideas from our student council. I could potentially do something similar, but maybe it's just ordering out and bringing in, because that was definitely a time consumer. But still, if it was a motivator for kids to do their minutes and at least a way to cheerlead that effort, I am definitely open to doing that again or something similar.
Anything else? Dr. S.
So at the beginning of the year, since we started, we've had 41 meetings that have been related. And I did point out in the numbers that a little less than half of that have been new kids to us, basically pre-K, elementary, all the way up into secondary. So I think this kind of like shows a high number of new students coming into the district with special ed needs. And truthfully, very nice to get the chance to sit down with families and either review services that they had in previous districts. And in some of these meetings, we've actually started to redraft or amend the IEPs. I am also glad or happy to say that the rest of my report, 60% of it is wrong. And I am glad to tell you why that is. So the submission that we did back at the end of September relevant to our corrective action plan for tiered focus monitoring review, it came back and basically said, hey, we're still going to the website and you can see what your progress is. And so I looked at all 5 of the points that we had, and all 5 were still listed as partially implemented. So there was one that I really couldn't get my head around at all, because some of the language that I was reading on the website did not seem to match what I had actually sent in. So I did reach out to the state and said, this doesn't seem right. And they basically said, yes, what we're seeing on our end is that you're actually completed 3 out of the 5. So the 2 that are not completed are the licensing, which the staff member currently has a pending in ELAR for DESE for an advancement of their license for a broader area. And then the only other thing was, the bias review, which we are partially implemented. And I know that we've got some more work across the district to do the bias review. Bias reviews are basically looking at all literature that we have and looking for biases in it. And those could be in the form of pictures. It's not just textbook related. It could be novels. Could also be pamphlets that we have relevant to any school adjustment counseling or guidance pamphlets that we might give out to students to make sure that any of the information in them or any of the images do not promote a certain type of bias. As an example of that, in another district that I worked in, we did have a pamphlet on bullying. The image on the front really depicted a group of students bullying another student. The group of students depicted, though, were essentially of a specific race. And the student being bullied was essentially a white student. So we basically looked at that as part of our bias review and decided to omit that from literature that we would actually pass out to students any further. So hopefully by within the next couple of months or so, I do kind of expect that at least the bias review to be completed. And DESE and ELAR, not sure how long they'll actually take to review, but I think we might be able to do some things to help that process along.
2 questions. One, the thing about the handbooks, did that get put in there, or was that?
So Melissa and I sat down today and started to look at, and it's kind of like, so this language, and because I know I reported off a little while ago that, hey, I sent examples of our language and got approval back. And I was kind of like wondering, did something get missed here? Did I send them like the wrong copy somehow? And I wasn't really thinking that was the case. And Melissa and I sat down to look at adding this specific language, but then we came across the language that it's kind of like it's all in here. And then it was literally probably less than an hour later, I got the reply back today from the state saying, yeah, you're approved in this area. So,
Good.
I was like, I read that. I was like, I know that's in there.
I know, I was like, I felt a little
Yeah.
like personally.
I feel like I read that.
That's how I felt. So my other question is kind of to any of the administrators. When you said that you've done 41 meetings, I was thinking, how many days of school have we had?
37 right now, and so this was as of Friday.
So how many days of school have we had?
37, I think, is.
So some days got more than one meeting.
You've only had 37 days of school,
Mhm.
and you've done over 40 meetings. Good job. I mean, well,
Crank it.
you are cranking them out. Wow.
Good job, but also sorry.
Yes, exactly.
I'm not sorry, we're taking care of our
How-
community.
our-
Yes,
so
sorry for them
I-
having
it's
to
a lot
have
of
that
work.
many
Our-
meetings.
Our November
Yes.
meetings already scheduled.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And so we do have like an evaluation and meeting tracker meeting every 2 weeks. And the last one occurred actually this morning. So we went through everything that we needed to do to make sure that it's ready for December, making a couple different tweaks to our procedures relevant to getting consents out. But essentially we went over every student or every family that to make sure that we were on track for getting these meetings done.
Good to hear. Okay. Any more?
Can I ask a quick, unrelated to your report, and you might not have this information at hand. I was having a conversation with someone about how many dedicated paraprofessionals we have within the district. And it seems like we have a fairly high number. Do you know what the number is?
Actually, not offhand.
We have 13 at the elementary school, 2 of them being RBTs. So we have 11 ESPs, 2 RBTs.
How many are dedicated though? Like,
Oh, I mean, is like assigned one-on-one?
yeah,
Like one-on-one.
one-on-one.
Is what he meant.
So that is kind of a mixed bag
Yeah.
because some students do have full day one-to-ones and some of them have partials. So the partials, after their assignments are done with the one-to-ones, might go and do something else. So we do have, and I couldn't give you the exact number of how many are partials.
In your opinion, do you think we have an over-reliance on that role?
Well, truthfully, since 2010, I really do feel that everybody has an open reliance. One-to-ones can be a benefit or a detriment, and they can be a detriment if the student becomes too dependent on the one-to-one. And one of the best examples, and I've seen this after I heard it, was if one-to-ones are like reading answers to a question. And they might say, the options here are A, B, or C. They're kind of drawing the student to the correct answer just by tone of voice. So in that way, yes, they want to see students do well, but they're becoming too dependent on the adult for the level of support. So back in 2010, what was actually going on was the Associate Commissioner of Special Ed at that time said, there's an over-reliance on certain services, one-to-ones being a part of that. So there was really an encouragement for us to start either fading the services out or backing away from it or rotating staff through so that we weren't having like one person. I know we've talked about the fading for some of the cases. I know Melissa does a really great job talking about like rotating like a couple of different pairs with the student. So I think we're trying to back off from that as much as we can. The problem has always been with an IEP that if a parent does not agree with fading or backing off from the service at all, we can write it in an IEP and they can reject it and it becomes a stay put. And sometimes I've seen stay put IEPs run for several years, which is not a good thing either. So it's people feel that sometimes it's a comfort level or they convince themselves it is what the student needs, but it is also fostering dependency on a particular service instead of encouraging the student to be more independent, I should say.
Is it generally the family that requests the need, or is it the general education teacher that?
Sometimes it's the team that really talks about the need of the student and the need for like a one-to-one. And if the Usually if it's a behavioral issue and it's so severe that the student has like severe sensory issues and their responses are more behavioral, things like that might lead to a one-to-one. Folks will, sometimes look for one-to-ones relevant to attention issues. We try to steer those conversations relevant to, here's inclusion. We've got a couple staff members in the classroom already. So let's not actually assign a one-to-one to a person when you've got somebody who can read the IEP and do check-ins with the student to make sure that they're on track. We just kind of keep track of whether they need extra assistance to actually follow multi-step directions or complete a task, just to make sure that they're doing those things.
Is it the case that there are some folks that the perception is that the ESP is a one-to-one when in fact that staff person is sort of got a group of students that they're supporting in similar ways, just they happen to be in the same classroom?
So if we try to be as specific as we can in the IEP relevant to the minutes. So, and we're getting, I think, better about this. We're trying to break up services. So there was a lot of academic support writing in service delivery grids like last year. And we're trying to basically say, let's break this down so that we can say what it actually is. Because academic support in the B grid might have been something like 5 times 45 or 5 times 90. But it wouldn't be broken down into how many minutes were actually devoted to a particular classes. So we're trying to get into like, well, it's going to be more like a 5 times 30 for math and 5 times 60 for like reading services of some sort. So if it's broken down, just using that as an example in that way, then we're talking about like minutes of support. But in the B grid, if we're not identifying it as specific one-to-one, we're trying to identify it as a group service, then the staff member is actually helping out more than one child. If we were going to identify it as one-to-one specifically, we would put one-to-one in the notations in the service delivery grid, and probably additional information as well.
We've also been really fortunate that our BCBA actually has a great depth of knowledge in being able to support the training of ESPs. And I think that's another big piece and component to that notion of trying to phase out support and or knowing when to step in and when to give more independence. It's a balancing act, but it's definitely one that we have a handful of staff that are, ESPs that are just phenomenal at doing that, and others are just newer to the profession and or newer hires and just need more support and knowing how to do that, so that students have some independence, but yet have the support when they need it, or have that ability to take that break and leave the classroom if they need it, but always know that they have to come back and do that work.
I'm just thinking that from a parent perspective, asking that question, I don't know how they would know if the person was a one-to-one on paper versus someone that was in a B grid service who was giving direct support per a plan, but also like gave support to me, but also helped Connor. Like, you might not know that they were helping both.
I could also say that last year, this is one of the problems that I actually found when we were doing school choice increment and circuit breaker training, is most of our IPs did not identify small group, individual, or large group settings. And so this year, I really kind of reinforced with staff that when we fill, and you, as parents, they probably will not see those notations unless they're actually made in the location piece, but they are in ESPID to let us know that it's a group identification, and that helps when I do school choice increment or circuit breaker filings.
Anything else? So next up is a conversation about the district improvement plan update.
I think everyone has a copy of the revised draft based on our last workshop. The biggest change was that I took the PD goal. So there had been 3 goals: one around PD, one around school culture and climate, and one around academic rigor. And I broke the PD goal into the other two to support those two goals specifically. I also reordered the goals. So we start with a goal 1, rigorous academic programming, and then goal 2 is the increased belonging in school culture. So I know everyone's had a chance to look at it, so I'll just open it to feedback that folks may have.
I just wanted to remind you in goal 2 on 1C
Mhm.
that we amended that to include the arts and not
Yes.
just sports.
Yep. I can make that change.
Yeah, that was just,
I had that note too.
Other notes? I would really challenge us on goal 1, instead of talking about what we're going to offer, which is sort of a binary thing, to rephrase that goal so that we're looking at it as a results oriented, so that it's academic growth, or like just that offering the rigorous programming is the way we get to the result that we're looking for, but that the goal should be the result that we're looking for. And that the next time we take a look at this, I'd really challenge us to say, okay, how are we going to measure these 2 goals? I don't mind that it's down to 2 goals, because I think you folded in the PD stuff appropriately, because they're part of how we get to the achieving those goals. But I think the next step, I would love to see how we're going to measure for that.
Yeah.
And so as we think about how to phrase that goal about seeing growth on the academic front, what would that look like? How are we going to measure for that? And can we start to look at some metrics that we're striving for? How will we know when we get there?
Yep.
Anything else? So I as we get to your superintendent goals, we'll talk about the timeline for that, because I
Sure.
think that's covered there, right?
Yep.
if other people are going to be reading this district improvement plan, I'm still looking at that in goal 2, 6C, which is just,
It's all acronyms.
Yeah.
For anybody else any parent or, somebody that's going to look at this, let's not talk in code for them.
Yep.
It's minor, but just before we
Yeah.
put that away for now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, same thing on 1.5A, Dibbles, DESA, BST.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Just to help anybody that might be reading it.
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. And get to talk about superintendent goals, which is something we need to vote on this evening. Betty, would you like to present your goals?
You bet. Yeah. So I think everyone's had a chance to take a look at the goals. There are 5 kind of broad goals, and they all align pretty directly with the district improvement plan, which is good. They should. The first goal is around strategic planning. So last year, the part of the new superintendent induction program was about creating an entry plan and doing sort of a lot of data collection and analysis. And this year, the shift is in taking that and using that data to help plan strategically, which lines up perfectly with our new district improvement plan that we need. So goal 1 is really around creating the district improvement plan. And using last year's data that was collected through the entry plan to do so. Goal 2 is around professional practice, and this is a continuation of last year, and it's participation in that new superintendent induction program. This is year 2. So it's a 2-year induction program. Um, and again, the goals of the program this year are really about planning and an action plan based on last year. The third goal is related directly to our district improvement plan. It's academic rigor. And the key actions that you'll see in there really relate directly to some of those initiatives under the district improvement plan. So it's a little more kind of parsed out as to what exactly will be done.
I'm going to speak to those just to highlight them quickly
Sure.
for people who are listening in.
Yeah, you bet. So the goal 3 around academic rigor is to develop systems to increase academic achievement for all students. The first key action is to explore ELA curricula for K-8 alignment. One of the things we have noticed, both in terms of student performance on MCAS and state metrics, as well as just what we've heard from our teaching staff, has been a real desire to have some more aligned ELA curricula. Right now, there's some really great stuff being done in ELA, but it has felt a little disjointed at times. There's different parts from different curricula that have come together, and there are some benefits to that. But I think looking at a more aligned curriculum. The second key action there is to support the development of enrichment opportunities for HES and Smith Academy higher achieving students. Again, one of the pieces of data that we've seen over the years has really been a trend towards moving students to proficiency, but really we also want to make sure that we're taking our proficient students and moving them to exceptionalism, and that's where we want to spend some time and energy, is making sure that we're pushing those higher achieving students further as well. The third piece there is looking at the possibility of really thinking outside of the box and creating what are called innovation academies at HES and Smith Academy. So really to look at what we do instructionally, what our student needs are, and if there are kind of larger changes programmatically, structurally, that we want to make that would help us deliver better instruction in better ways. What kind of what tools do we have at our disposal to make that happen? And creating an innovation academy, kind of like a school within a school sort of model, is one of those tools that exist, and we can, we're small enough that we may be able to utilize that in a more efficient way to really target some instruction there. And then again, to utilize data to support differentiated instruction at all learning levels, not just those students who may need intervention and a boost, but also differentiating higher. How are we making sure that our students who are at or above grade level are continuing to get pushed to to excel?
Thank you.
The fourth goal is around belonging and around school culture and climate. And it's really just to increase the feeling of belonging and positive school climate across all of our schools. And so looking at how we are getting our students out into the community and bringing the community into the school through events that we have and through volunteerism, kind of ways that our students can get out into the community, really celebrating what we're doing well. That's something that I've heard, a number of different ways and through a number of different avenues, is that there's a lot of great stuff happening and nobody knows about it. So how can we make sure that the things that we are doing and the things that we're doing well are pushed out and so when people when people think about Hatfield Public Schools, they first think about the great things that they've seen us doing. That's what we want. So making sure that we're really celebrating those successes, including and then the next action there is to increase student voice in school-based decision making. So that will look differently at different levels. So that might be taking student input on new courses that we're developing. We're looking at those VSU and concurrent enrollment courses that we're developing. If there's a particular group of students that is really interested in a certain area, we can sort of cater what we do to their what they would like. And and again, making sure that that information is getting out there, because once again, you know, I've hit it for the third or fourth time now that 77%. That's a statistic that needs to be out there. Um, and that is a direct result of the programming and the opportunities that we have at Smith Academy. Again, we need people to know that. We need that to be out in the community. We need that to be kind of the discussion point that people are having. And it's not yet, so we need to do that. And that kind of dovetails directly with goal 5, which is just around communication. And this may even be communication is one way to put it. I think PR is another way to put it, because this is really, it's not just about communicating. It's not just about developing a communication plan. It's about implementing it. It's about improving what we do with our communication. So making sure that the methods and the ways that we are communicating and showing what we do, that those are effective, that they are getting the message that we want out there, and that they're getting the message where we want it to go to. So part of that is cataloging the first key action. They're cataloging what we do, making sure that we have sort of a plan in place that, like, this is how we communicate. These are the means by which we communicate, and these are the timelines to that communication. And then looking at that and saying, okay, well, we realize that we have a couple of gaps here and here. We want to fill those gaps, and then looking at how effective they are, and what we can do better, and what we can do to make sure that we are putting out what we need to get out there.
Questions or comments? I hope if you
Go
want to
ahead.
jump. I would like to challenge you on goal number 5 to, again, to sort of elevate that to be about improving communication, not just to develop a plan, that the developing the plan would become your first key action.
Yeah.
But that the goal is really to improve communication with students, family, and community. And I would further challenge that it's not just district-wide, but school and classroom level communication as well. And that is a more challenging and robust goal. I appreciate that it would be, and that you would likely need some key actions about gaining teacher buy-in and participation.
And that's a great example of how the district improvement plan, which is what we're creating here, will sort of shape and drive each individual school improvement plan too, because that's as we kind of get into the more specific grade levels and schools, that's where that communication plan would really come out too, and say, yep, this is how we're going to do it in preschool, kindergarten, first grade. And so we can break it down really, really in a nuanced way through those two.
Because that you can inspire it at the top, and there's certainly a district component to it. But if it doesn't implement all the way through, it really won't do what it needs to do. And I just think we just should write the goal to reflect that.
Just piggybacking on that, like so many of the issues that we've had in the last several years have been communication related.
Yes.
I will say that I feel with this new program, Teacher Ease, that I've received more frequent and better communication. And in fact, even today, I got an email from a teacher giving positive feedback. That was like the heading of it. So that's a good start of,
Great.
yeah, but if it goes through every classroom in that way, that would be terrific.
The consistency and amount of communication, good, bad, or indifferent, between various grade levels is so dramatically different. It's like, it's shocking. And then when you get somebody that's really good at it, then the next person who isn't as on top of that, you really feel the difference
You feel the loss
Mm-hmm.
or
or
even-
gain.
or the
Yeah.
or the opposite direction after having a year of not a lot of communication, and then you do, it's very dramatic and noticeable.
Yeah.
But if it was really spread out, that would be nice.
But there's definitely some good best practices out there.
Mhm.
That's not like, so.
I don't mean to be picky, but I have a question about goal 4,
Mhm.
the first benchmark, volunteerism lists of opportunities and students. Can you?
I can reword that. Yeah.
But I didn't know
and
if you meant you're having one list of available opportunities and a list of students who
So-
have stepped up to volunteer, and there's going to be some way of matching
yes
them.
to both of those is to really to create a the volunteerism list would be and the opportunities list would be just kind of a bank of, hey, here are all the things the community has said that they can use volunteers for, and getting that out to students so that they have kind of a menu of ways that they can get involved that they can choose from, and then we track and to track those students that have taken part in those, and we do that currently, but I think having that in a way that is, again, celebrated and put out there, like, hey, congratulations, Melissa, she just hit her 100th hour of community service, way to go, something like that, so it's not just in a binder on a shelf for the graduation requirement, but it's really something that's celebrated and done well.
Or maybe even getting communication back the other way, like, having the people for whom we volunteer share their experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
There's
great
your
idea,
social
too.
media post
Yeah,
right
right.
there. It's the feedback, testimonials on the website.
Yeah.
And I know we're speaking of volunteerism and those kinds of opportunities, but I have heard and seen on social media families that are looking for somebody that can babysit
Mhm.
or looking, to hire a couple of kids to do some yard work or something like that. And I don't know if that really fits in with this. It's not volunteering, but it is connecting with the community
Yeah.
because other districts,
do you
they
know-
can call the office and say, hey, do you know any kids
Yeah.
that do babysitting?
But you know what?
Mhm.
Some student could put together, like, I'm going to put together a babysitter bank and have a list of students that can be on call. They could organize that so that it would be a resource, or students that could do
Student
yard
council project, maybe.
Yeah.
apps.
I've
So
had it in a previous school where the PTA had put together a list of babysitters for the community.
there's
So
Just
Yeah.
thoughts of something other than just volunteerism, which is great. But there is another need for community members who would be willing to pay
Yep.
for some services and help a student out.
provided that we are not like creating it, validating that there would be good at, like,
No,
there's
just,
a little,
just
Fine. Yeah.
some communities do that. They call the high school and say, hey, we're looking for
Yeah.
Yep.
a couple football players to move my couch, or like.
awesome. Okay, anything else on the goals that we would want to talk about? Is there a motion to approve the superintendent goals, or are you looking for them to come back again?
I'll make that motion to approve the superintendent goals of 25-26 as presented, or with the
With the amendments.
amendments given tonight.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you much. Okay. School finance. And we have a vote tonight on transfers requested. Mr. Sullivan, is there anything you want to call out from your report?
Our circuit breaker revenues came in lighter than expected this year by about $26,000. We had an ESP leave at the elementary school, and we're not going to rehire. And then we have an unfilled so far ESP position at the high school. So between the two, we're kind of covering that. And not rehiring the ESP at the elementary school, they've done some finagling to still meet all the needs of the students down there. So we're not out of compliance with that, but it was an opportunity to recoup that money. Our school choice revenue for the year is coming in lower than expected in comparison to, on a per student basis, how we've done in the past. So we're getting around $6,100 this year per student versus in the past it's $7,200. Sometimes we get a lump sum at the end of the year, but we don't know if that's going to happen or not. So we're just being mindful of the accounts.
So the difference, if I can predict your question, there's always a flat fee per student,
Yeah.
but then if they have student services, those come back. So all of the special education spending that we do comes back from the sending district. It's not like circuit breaker where we just get a percent, we get all of it, but it's a year late. And on occasion, those get tracked a little wonky. So our eyebrows are raised at the significant difference per student because that 72,000 is an average over a lot of years. And that's a pretty big difference. But we have had years where they go through the whole year and they pay the same rate every month. And then like 3 months later, there's like a little update. We're like, oh, here's an extra 272,000.
And that comes from the sending district.
Those
or
they come through the state, but it's like it didn't all get accounted at the front. But to Adam's point, we don't know whether that will happen or not.
Something to look into?
We
or-
are.
Okay.
Which actually, before I proceed, I have two questions for Dr. S, if I can bug you on those 2 points. The circuit breaker coming in lighter than expected, that was just an accounting error on our part, or just?
No, we actually didn't have, internally, we only had like one student that breached like $20,000 in total costs. So that didn't even close to being half of the foundation amount to even start to claim circuit breaker. So really the only entries that we had were out of district tuition based returns.
Okay.
But when we did I'm assuming it's because when we did the budgeting, we made assumptions about what the rest of the year was going to be, and the needs didn't turn out to be that. Which means we probably saved some money last year.
Maybe.
So I'm not sure what the numbers or the discussions were on that, but if there was something like not accounting for one of the students that was out of district that was actually graduating, that could have impacted the numbers that you were looking at. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not, though.
I think we have to double down on how we forecast.
Yeah. And then as far as the school choice revenue per student coming in lighter than we're used to, how are we sure that we're billing appropriately for school choice students who use student services?
It's based on what's in the IEP. So with the school choice increment, all the students that actually show up on the claiming list, I have to go into the IEP and actually verify that the services that we're claiming are actually listed in the service delivery grid. Now, the thing that I mentioned earlier about individual, small group, and group, that makes a big difference. And truthfully, I'm not sure how that was looked at previously. But if it's not identified in the service delivery grid, my experience has always been we have to default to the group monitor. So group is not going to pull in as much reimbursement as individual services. But if we get audited and somebody said, prove that you were giving the student individual services, I couldn't by going to the grid. And the grid really is probably the primary thing that they look at when they do audits relevant to a circuit breaker or a school choice increment. So that's one of the reasons that I made sure that we're focusing this year on getting the small group, the individual, and the group identified clearly in the service delivery grid, and trying to make sure that any entries relevant to staff This is another issue that, again, I'm not sure what past practice was relevant to claiming, but if you have special ed teacher / paraprofessional, you have to default to the paraprofessional as the reimbursement rate, not the special ed teacher. So during meetings, I've been making sure that is it the special ed teacher or the paraprofessional that's actually providing the service? If it's the special ed teacher, the reimbursement rate will be higher than the paraprofessional. We want to make sure that we're accurately claiming those funds, but also clearly identifying who it is in the service delivery that is actually providing the service. So I think those two things may have impacted previous, and the fact that I am trying to be very specific that if we get audited, somebody's not telling us, hey, look, we shouldn't have claimed it like this. You owe us money back, and this will be taken out of the next claiming session. I want to make sure that things are accurate and that we're not, if we get audited, that we're not actually being put in a position where the money is going to be taken out on future claiming.
So are you saying it's possible that the numbers that we're getting, because again, the school choice money that we get this year is for services rendered last year, so that it might be lower than the previous year because your practices are different than the previous person's practice? Not saying you're doing it wrong, you were perhaps doing it better and more accurately than done previously.
Or the-
Differently.
I'm speculating about that because if there is a difference in numbers, it's either we're not claiming enough, and I don't see how I would be doing that by going over the service. This process takes me for doing the school choice increment probably about 3 weeks. And I'm not talking about like an hour a day type of thing. I'm talking about full days to get the entire process done because I am going through each individual IEP and making sure that, and it's not just one IEP I'm going through. It's the current IEP and the previous IEP that probably occurred for part of that year, plus extended school year services, which it's all part of the same form, but it's going through each version of the IEP. So if there's previous IEP and then a new IEP was written in January, then there's the new IEP for that time period. If there was an amendment done, then there's the amendment that's also looked at along with extended school year services. So it's a time-consuming process and trying to be as specific and accurate as I can be with the entries.
Is there a reasonable way to calculate how much the district should expect over and above in sum of that 5,000 per student? So like, are you able to say like, I have billed through school choice for X number of dollars, so we should see that much in excess of the 5,000 per student coming back in the next year as like a double check?
Yeah, because school choice increment is done really in May, if I speculated now, I'd be speculating on new IEPs that haven't been developed yet. So I could, if we're assuming, like if I took every active IEP right now and I went through school choice increment billing and I came up with a number, that would be based on the assumption that all services are staying the same.
Okay, but can you take, I'm sorry to jump in the middle, but can you take what was turned in last May and verify that what we're getting from the state is what you would have expected based on what you recorded in May?
Yes.
Can we get that number?
I don't see why not.
Okay. Because I mean, we can extrapolate the 6,091 times n number of students and know what the excess is. So we can see if that 1,091 times n number of students actually matches roughly what you would have expected. And we can know if there's a glitch that we need to look into or not. Thank you. Sorry for the tangent. Moving on.
It's the value of a teacher or two. Like we're not letting little things go because every dollar counts.
Yeah.
I also wanted to understand why.
So just an update on our school choice funds. For this year, we budgeted over $1 million. We $1,070,617 to expend from our school choice revolving account. We are then adding in an additional sum of money because our special ed costs, tuition and transportation are $315,710 more than we budgeted for. So After any adjustments and transfers, we're going to be adding almost $260,000 from our remaining school choice funds to the current year's budget, bringing total choice spending to a little over 1.3 million for the year, which is going to put a sizable dent. And that sum is, the amount that's rolled over year to year plus whatever we're getting throughout the year. So with the increased spending this year, which is substantial, and the lower rate that we're getting this year on a per student basis for choice reimbursement, we are going to reduce our forecast for how much we're going to get in choice next year, even though we have more choice students. And that's we're forecasting it to be our total amount to be about half what we had this year available to use, which will necessitate changes in spending for our budget for next year. The town is in their own predicament with finances, in particular with the insurance increases of about 40% in the last 5 months. So their ability to help us make up any deficit will be probably very limited, to be kind. And at the bottom, there's just some highlights of how much our special ed costs have increased. So last year, you can see on the chart that we had just a little under $300,000. We had $275,000 was our tuition budget last year. This year we budgeted $401,000, but our forecast is now just shy of $680,000. We don't really expect those numbers to get better next year.
But what we can expect to get better, the silver lining, is what we get from circuit breaker next year.
Yes.
So
with the caveat of how well is it going to be funded?
Yeah, we all need to do whatever we can to help encourage our state representatives to make sure that circuit breaker is fully funded. Because if it's not, that would be a significant issue for us. So we could be looking at at about 500,000 more in circuit breaker next year if it's funded, which will help offset part of the school choice funds. Because we're spending school choice funds this year to cover special ed costs that then gets reimbursed through circuit breaker. But it's going to still leave a gap. And we're working to put the FY27 budget together early, as in the next several weeks, so that when we come back and talk to you in a month, we will have more detail. But we don't want it to be a surprise. So different this year than in past, we're looking to do transfers early. And this is one of those, it's a better budgeting practice because it allows the school finance subcommittee to track dollars after the shuffle has happened. So the bulk of our expenditures are in salaries. That's how things work. And every year, anytime we have to hire someone that came in, they may fall in a different place on the grid. And so there's lots of little tweaks to manage for salary adjustments with the staff that we actually have, not the staff that we had it a year ago when we budgeted. Frequently they're close, but there's always a little bit of change. And by making transfers now, it allows us, as we go through the year, to better track that we actually have the dollars left that we think we do, because the system will then report out oh, you're at 40% of your spending, and we're 40% of the way through the school year. Makes it a lot easier than oh yeah, we're going to have to transfer at the end of the year. We may still need to do some transfers at the end of the year, but this will help it be more transparent if we have hiccups coming or funds left over. It'll be easier to see.
From a school finance perspective, it's much easier to do that rather than in October have it say, oh, we've already spent 110% of that account's funds, but we'll just figure it out in April.
It makes for a lot of panicked meetings and less sleep because it feels like a little bit of a roller coaster when we do it that way. So the transfer summary, the front page shows you, it's a little bit different than how we've looked at it in the past. You've got the line item what the projected costs are based on everything we started the year with, what we budgeted for that need, and then what the difference is. And the flip side of that is here are the receiving accounts. Here's what the actual need is, here's what we budgeted, and all of those are deficits. So one page shows here's where we had extra funds. We budgeted a little bit more than we ended up needing. And the other side is here's the places we need to fill some gaps. And then you can see the big gaps are special ed tuition for 171,000 and a gap in special ed contractual services for 140. Transportation for 34,000, 44,000. So we didn't have enough in where we were over to cover all of the gaps. So there's additional choice dollars that help fill in those gaps. So we're really looking for 2 votes tonight. One to approve the transfers for 579,754.91. That's just shuffling between lines so that we get them in the right places. And then a second vote to shift funding out of school choice reserves and into the FY26 budget. So that's essentially what we're short in our budget. And we're fortunate that we have it in school choice reserves right now to be able to do that, because in past years when we hit this point, we would be reaching out to town and asking for funds. Questions? Anything you wanted to add?
Nope.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfers of $579,754.91 as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor of making the transfers as stated?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And is there a
And,
second vote? Second motion?
to approve the shift of additional funding from school choice reserves to the fiscal year 26 budget of $258,870 as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Ms. Green, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Moving on to the policy subcommittee, who is sharing with us student conduct on school buses.
So,
Boy, you felt so proud that we accomplished so much, and then I see everything the finance committee did.
You should still feel bad. It's all good.
well, I'm also mindful that it is after 9 o'clock. So, policy continues to work on updating and aligning all of the policies related to student conduct. So that was the major work that we completed this last year and was voted on over the summer. And now there are all these other policies that are related to conduct that we want to make sure are updated and in alignment with sort of our intentions. So today we have for you student conduct on school buses. There is a clean copy in the policy report, and then the link leads you to the track changes copy. I want to just point out to the committee that policy JICC, the current student conduct on school buses, is a very short policy, and then there's an attached procedure, JICC-R. As a committee, we have been trying to eliminate some of these procedures and move them into a procedure manual. That work is ongoing. However, when we started reading the JICC-R, there were some really important points that we did feel belonged in the regular policy. And actually, most of what was in this procedure was not really procedural. It felt more like policy to us. So that is, if you're looking at the track changes copy, this whole section on expected conduct aboard the bus is modified from the previous procedure, and the section regarding notifications regarding misconduct and like our process around misconduct, that also is modified from the old JICC-R. So I hope that makes sense. Policy is happy to take any feedback or comments about our work.
Are you anticipating this will come back?
There's no vote on the agenda,
Correct.
so it will come back. That's why this is, if you have anything you want to say about it, let us know so we can make
And when it does come back for a vote, we will be voting on JICC as the current, but we'll need to eliminate JICC dash
that will be
R.
our plan. Yes.
Gotcha. I'm appreciative for the updates. They look good to me.
We just meshed them together and
Clarified some
Yep.
things.
Anything else, committee? Okay,
Well,
thank you.
We'll see you in November.
Thank you both.
Yes. JICC.
And if anyone from the public has issues about school bus conduct. Very quickly tonight, just a little housekeeping. There is a Lions Club graduation award. There is a longstanding agreement. It's just been updated about the timing. That's all it did. But because it came in as an amendment to the agreement, it wasn't something I could just sign off on. So I'd like to make a motion to accept this amended agreement from the Hatfield Lions Club, which continues on the practice that they have had in supporting our students, and it's much appreciated. They just want to update the timing. Is there a second for that?
I'll second. And I
Okay.
have a question.
Okay. Open.
The change is that the annual award will be given out at the commencement exercises to past awardees as well? Because this isn't the one that is for 4 years that they do? No, that's the trustees that do that. I'm sorry.
Correct.
Okay.
This is just, but they
This
weren't
is-
giving it at with all the other stuff. So this just shifts it in,
Okay.
folds it in instead of doing it after the fact. So all it did was change the timing. Unless you know something else.
Was it being done at the Lions banquet before? Or?
I've only been to one Lions banquet, and I don't think they didn't do an award then.
I
no.
think it was happening after graduation,
Oh, okay.
which would suggest no. I'm not 100% sure on that. So I apologize to the Lions Club if I've got that wrong. But Riley and I talked about this a while back. We just didn't have a meeting. It was right after our last meeting. So all in favor of the amended agreement, which you've had a chance to read, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. And I'm signing and I'll pass it through. With that, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session with the intent to return to general session. This is pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than professional competence of an individual, or to discuss the discipline or dismissal of, or complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual. This requires a second and then a roll call vote. Is there a second?
Are you inviting anyone in?
Actually, I made the motion. I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session, and we will have one guest with us.
Okay.
Did you say that?
I thought you did who you're inviting in because it has to go on record in the minutes of who is
Okay.
invited in.
And Principal Petra is invited to join us.
I'll second.
Boudreaux, aye.
Engelhardt, aye.
Bench I.
Green eye.
Sullivan, aye.
Okay. And so with that, we're going to go downstairs and we will be back